Hello guys, and welcome to another episode of me trying to learn Java. And today we're going to look at Booleans and if statements, basically control flow and comparison operators. So Booleans in Java, as you know, Booleans are basically values that can take either 1 or 0, so basically true or false. And a Boolean in Java is called literally Boolean, and you can use equals true or equals false depending on, well, true or false. So this would be 1 and this would be 0. And in Java, an if statement would look like basically something with a pair of brackets and a pair of braces, like a scope. And what this means is that if whatever inside these brackets is true, in this case it is, then whatever inside these braces will be executed. So if statements are basically the most basic form of control flow. So let's try if this works. And I've said this before, but for some reason I just cannot type while I'm talking. I just tend to make mistakes if I do two things at once. I guess yeah, so we can also add multiple clauses to the if statement in case you didn't know by using else if. So here we can just add another statement. And so instead of using like multiple if blocks, you can use the benefit of using if else is if one of the statements, so let me just demonstrate this first. Alright, so let's say you had this if else block. So the benefit of using if else over multiple if blocks is, say you wanted only one of these to be evaluated in either case. So if we were to run this, okay, so for some reason Java compiles very slowly on my computer. So as we can see, as expected, this was evaluated. But what if we were to have the opposite? So in this case, this block got evaluated because B got changed to true. Now what if both of these are true? Right, so in this case, only this block was evaluated even though this block was also true. That's because in an if/else if statement, if something is found to be true, say if this block gets evaluated, it just ignores all of the other blocks. It doesn't try evaluate the rest of them. But if we have multiple if blocks like this, then you can see all of them will be evaluated. So it's true in a lot of other languages like Python, but this is just like a neat thing. I actually didn't know the difference between using multiple if statements and using else if, but yeah, so this is basically how it works. And let's just try creating a simple program using control flow. So I don't think I've actually used input before in Java in the videos, so we do that by using java.util.scanner. So let's just import that. So this is a scanner object, so we declare the type using the word scanner. If we watched a previous video, scanner system.in. In my opinion, this is a bit more complicated than it has to be, but no judgment. Java is a pretty good language, albeit a bit old. So to take an integer from standard input, we would do input next int. And if we were to use find a string or like a double, then we just use another type instead of int. But now we want to use int. So let's just create something simple that that checks which state water is in. So int water, or actually let's just use double. So double water or water temperature. And as we know, if water is below 0 degrees Celsius, it is a solid, and if above 100, it is a gas. So if we want to do this using a comparison operator, we would do this. So if temperature is smaller than or equal to 0, so this symbol basically means smaller than. In programming, we typically don't use this symbol just to keep it more simple on computers that can't like directly type that symbol. But yeah, so we use this for less than or equals to, and this for greater than or equal to. So if it is smaller than or equal to 0, then we do system print line gas. And here, instead of using another if block, we want to use an else if block. Greater than or equal to 100, then we want to do system.out.println gas. Or actually, I made a mistake here. It should be solid. And finally, we can just catch everything else in an else block. So if it's between 0 and 100, it would be liquid. So let's try this out. Oops. Alright, so let's try inputting, say, 98. So 98 degrees is liquid, but if we try with like 100, then it would be gas. And let's try putting like a negative number. So negative 58 would be solid, and 0 would be solid, 1 would be liquid. And yeah, so this is like a basic program demonstrating control flow. And if we wanted to check two conditions, so let me think. So how should we demonstrate two conditions? So let's just do like a simple thing that whether or not we are, let's just check for whether or not it is water. So is water equals true or false? So in this case, let's just put true. And in Java, we would use and or operators. So this operator basically puts, so if here you would have one expression, and on the other side of the and statement you would have another expression, and basically this entire thing would evaluate to true if and only if both of these evaluate to true. And if we were to use or, which is these two pipey thingies right here, this thing would evaluate to true if either of these things evaluate to true. So instead of having to hack code together with a bunch of if blocks, you can just use these operators. Very convenient. And here we want to check whether or not it actually is water, because we want to provide inaccurate information when we don't actually know what the temperature of the thing is, what the thing actually is. So let's just put if temperature is smaller than or equal to 0, or is water. We want to put solid, and we do this for every other thing. And instead of instead of putting else, we can just put like another else if statement. So if just only is water, and it only checks each time. It only checks whether or not this is true. So there's no problem with putting is water here and is water here again, or anything like that. So let's just try this out. So here let's put say 60, and this works fine. But what if we turn is water off? So let's just say that we put like salt water or something, and our program just does not support salt water. So let's just put this, and it just prints nothing and exits. Actually, we should probably put something. Just put an else block that catches this entire thing. Yes, this is totally good program design, but you should probably put an else block unless you know that it definitely is not going to happen. Sorry, our system does not support non-water things. Very grammatical. So we put 60 or 50 here. We see that it is not water. So we could just read another Boolean asking the user if it is water, but let's just keep it simple for now. So one other thing I wanted to show is an interesting property about if-else statements, or the AND operator and the OR operator. Sorry about that. So let's just say we had a string. So string something, or actually we would put equals null. So let's just check if in this string there exists a character called, or actually, yeah, this is, so how we would do that is index of so we would do this, and then if it's greater than or equal to 0, then obviously it exists in the string, because everything is 0 indexed here. So if it's greater than or equal to 0, if the index is greater than or equal to 0, that means it exists in the string. But actually, if we have a null string here, it actually does not behave how we want it to behave. So let's just try compiling this. And so it seems that there's something called a null pointer exception, and basically it just does not work if the string is null. So let's just check if it is null in the block. So if something is not null and something dot index of is greater than or equal to 0. So let's just try compiling this again. And it does nothing. But interestingly, it does not look at, so this obviously is what was causing the exception before. And interestingly, it found that something is indeed equal to 0, therefore this thing evaluated to false. So that means, remember, in an AND block, in an AND statement, it returns true only if both of the things on either side is true. Right now, it already found that this thing is false, so it didn't even check whatever was here. It didn't even, it didn't even check whether or not this thing evaluated to true. It already knows that the result of the AND statement is going to be false. So this is like a useful little trick. It's called like a short circuit operator, which wouldn't really be useful normally, I guess, unless you're trying to like avoid a certain type of behavior, or unless you're code golfing or something. But yeah, so this is like an interesting property of operators, which is that if they're immediately found to be false or found to be true in the case of OR operators, then they will just stop evaluating and return what the expected result will be. So yeah, hope you learned something today. Goodbye.